Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Uranium Energy. It is time for another update, and today we'll be discussing the structure that has actually formed a very interesting extension within this area and even opens the doors to something potentially much more bullish that could be forming within this pattern to the upside. And we'll be discussing more about that in a moment, but before, I would like to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we have been tracking this idea of a series of 1-2 setups that would realistically expect a third wave to unfold within this area. Now, since within this structure, it is very difficult to track an impulse. It is possible within several 1-2 setups internally, but realistically it's not necessarily a very likely interpretation. We need to be prepared for a more significant top to form within this area. Yeah, we could form another 1-2 setup. Who would have guessed? Another 1-2 setup, yeah, the fourth from the larger time frame perspective. But what also could be a realistic expectation is for this to be a more significant top within this wave 1, where this wave 1 could suffer an extension. It could be possible to build here a larger diagonal structure within this wave 1, still within a 5-wave move to the upside, but that could mark a very significant top to be in place once this pattern is complete. Now, we don't necessarily need to focus on this at the moment because, especially based on the latest extensions, we expect still further continuation higher. We didn't even get to the $20 level. That was one of the first levels we were looking for in the previous videos, yeah? Ever since we had more of a clear confirmation that a bottom was in place. Now, within this structure, we have been tracking a 5-wave pattern to the upside in our primary scenario. Within this structure, we are tracking a diagonal pattern, and this hasn't prevented us from having great success in following several trade setups in this area, yeah? Starting from the bottom in this wave 2, when we had our first area of support during our first video, we successfully followed through within probably 11 or so trade setups in this wave 3 alone. But then, this larger correction followed. Yeah, we were highly expecting, this was highly anticipated on this channel. This 3-wave correction into the area of support between the $13.7 all the way down to the $9 level for continuation higher within a 5th wave. We have followed this perfectly. We were able to predict very accurately when we should expect a bottom to have a chance to be in place within this structure to the downside. And we are well on our way within this 5th wave very soon, approaching a 2x from the current low within this wave 2. Now, to be clear, if we form a reset, if we fall back into the area of support, I would probably not consider this to still be part of this interpretation. I would be probably looking for a more direct failure, to be honest. So internal structures within this area are extremely important. And before we get into them, I also wanted to remind you, especially since the latest structure formation within this area, I wanted to remind you, this blue interpretation, where we could still track this idea of an impulse within a larger wave 3, has now a chance to follow through. We were tracking a series of 1-2 setups internally within this area, yeah, like 4 or 5 1-2 setups, and then we were looking for a third wave to unfold. We weren't able to track a wave 3 as of yet because we didn't create an impulse. But this may actually be changing because within this latest development, now we won't keep this necessarily on the chart, we aren't overly eager and we shouldn't be overly eager, but within this area we were looking for a possible early top to form within an internal wave 3 here. Yeah, we were tracking this as an ABC structure that could have even marked a top within the 5th wave in the end, but within the wave C we were still looking for the 5-wave move to the upside. And we were looking at this from the wave B bottom in this area where we would have been forced to track basically an ending diagonal within this wave C. Now, this means that within the wave 3 of the wave C, which we currently are still within in my opinion, we would need to consider an ABC structure to unfold. We have been tracking exactly that within this internal structure, yeah, in this smaller time frame. We were looking for a wave A top to have formed here, a wave B bottom here, and a wave C to unfold to the upside. And I have to say, it is still very much possible for this to be the case. Now, we did extend higher within this supposed wave 3. Not a problem. We could adjust also the area of support, but then we would have only this tiny wave 4 correction. To be honest, even in this case, I might still prefer that this wave 3 could still be extending, but we would need to be prepared for a more significant top within the wave 3. And I'm not denying this. I'm not denying that once we open the market, we could have a severe crash into the larger area of support. Now, nothing is really indicating this, not even the structure within this area, because I am actually tracking an even more bullish interpretation. Now, again, from a bigger perspective, from a larger time frame perspective, this structure could be complete. I wouldn't need any additional highs within this area, and I could consider this fifth wave to have formed even a top here. Now, clearly, in the pre-market price, we are already above it. We wouldn't look too much into that at the moment, but I want you to also focus on this possible blue interpretation instead, within which I am exploring the possibility of an impulse to actually form. So this actually allows me to track this as a 1-2 setup instead. Another 1-2 setup here. Another, or not another, a third wave here, a fourth wave down, and then a fifth wave. This could mark an internal wave 3 to the upside. I then could consider this to be a wave 4, and here we would track a fifth wave to the upside. Within this scenario, within this interpretation, within this fifth wave, I would actually expect this to form something like 1, 2, 3, fourth, and the fifth. We could already be heading in the fifth wave, but even the wave 3 could still extend higher. Now, relevant levels of support for direct continuation within this idea in a fifth wave in this area would be here between the $18.6 down to the $17.9 level. A break below the 61.8% retracement would be a decently strong signal that a more significant stop would already be in place within the large wave 3. But this is not necessarily the most important part of the structure, because sure, this would mean further extensions higher are possible within an impulse in this area. But what does this really imply? Well, it allows me to consider that perhaps this isn't a wave C, perhaps, or sure, it could be still an ABC structure in this area, but perhaps this would be able to work out as a series of 1-2 setups here, where this would be forming a third wave up, and then we would be forming several 4-5 patterns to build the larger structure. Within such an interpretation, we could get such severe extensions that this could turn and follow through within the blue interpretation. Not this wave 5 in white, but the blue scenario that would allow a third wave to unfold. Now, this is still in the very early stages. It's just a hint that we are getting that we should be prepared for further extensions higher, that even the impulsive structure is possible. Yeah, it's a hint. It's very, very early. But I still find it extremely interesting. And if we manage to build here the entire fifth wave in the blue scenario, I will be looking instead for a possible 1, 2, 3, fourth, and the fifth, where I would track a larger wave 3 to the upside. I will, of course, have another area of support for the green interpretation. We will, of course, continue to track this scenario, where an ending diagonal could still take place. Yeah, this is probably even still leading in terms of probabilities, but I am tracking this idea that does have a chance now. Yeah, this structure has been upgraded, has been provided the opportunity to build a much more impulsive structure. Yeah, and I won't necessarily go through all the details within which we could track this pattern as an impulse to the upside that could form the wave 3, but it is possible. We shouldn't look too much into the internal structures, especially within such smaller time frames. Yeah, this is actually, again, very interesting to me. We will be looking for the fifth wave to extend higher. We don't need much. Again, we only need an internal fifth wave within an ending diagonal in this area, in a 1, 2, 3, fourth, and the fifth. We could go even higher with no issues. We could form extensions, but that is at the very least what I'm tracking for a possible wave 3 to be followed through afterwards, where a wave 4 correction would be expected and a fifth wave. In the end, I would still expect a larger correction to occur here in the relatively near term once we actually build this fifth wave in the blue interpretation, but it does open the doors for much further extensions on this chart. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.